this podcast, Cliff Townsend. He is an entrepreneur, motivational speaker, and just started his own business. Cliff, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks, Santiago. What's going on, man?
Pretty good, man. So tell us, Cliff, I actually met you at Whole Foods about a couple of weeks ago, and I was recording a Instagram post, and you just, asked me, it's like, what are you doing? Hey, man, I'm just recording to my fans, to people that want to hear motivational stuff. And you are doing similar stuff as well.
Yeah, actually, when I met you at Whole Foods and I asked you what you were doing, and you were telling me that you was doing an Instagram post, and it's funny because that particular time, it's around that time that I decided to change my focus. And listen, we use all these social media networks, platform, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat, you name it. You know what I'm saying? There's 100 and something platforms. However, as a business, you can't use all of them because it gets overwhelming, and that's what happens to a lot of people. So at that point, I decided that I was gonna bring my focus down to like 3 platforms, and Instagram was what I decided. And it just happened to be been around that time. So when you told me that you was working on Instagram, definitely caught my interest. So where we are. My focus is right now on Instagram, and becoming the expert and building my Instagram followers. Yeah.
So I pretty much influenced you that day.
Yes, exactly. Actually, you did. Yeah, you did.
Now, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, your bio, what got you to today?
Oh man, what got me to today? Well, we won't go too far back, but I'll just give you briefly. I was born in England, grew up in Jamaica. My foundation is Jamaica because from 1 to like 12 I was in Jamaica, then the rest of it was in England, and then come to the United States. However, what it really got me was probably around 2007, 2008, I was going through a really rough time, and I've always been creative. I've always been entrepreneurial. So I've started my business, you name it, from t-shirts, owning my own t-shirt, my own clothing company, to opening my own brick and mortar store, doing auto accessories. So I've always been there. But around that time, 2007, 2008, I was going through a really rough time. I was actually, I was going through like my 3rd foreclosure, and I was in the process of going through a divorce. I just lost my job, and I remember one night I was in this house in Davie, with me and my son, a teenage son at the time, and I was laying down trying to go to sleep because I couldn't sleep because I was just worrying about thinking about what's going to happen tomorrow. And as I was laying there in the dark, just looking and just thinking about I was going to rob Peter to pay Paul, I heard a car alarm going off, and it just went on and on and on. And eventually I said, yes, somebody please turn off the damn car alarm. And it wouldn't go off, but eventually started to fade away into the dark, fade away. And then, like I said, I have had experience in automotive. So I thought about it, hold on. The purpose of a car alarm is one purpose and one purpose only: to kill the ignition. So if the car was moving and the alarm was still going off, I'm like, okay, the car's not being driven, the car must be getting towed away. And at that moment, I thought about it, and I got up and ran across the room there in the darkness, and I looked downstairs where my black BMW 740i used to be, and it was gone. Ran downstairs, opened the door, and just stood in this parking space where my black BMW 740i used to be, and it was gone. And my son came down like, Dad, what happened to our car? And I just sent him back to bed, and I went back to bed that night. But at that point, everything just like came to an end. You know what I'm saying? That was like the last straw. I was laying in bed, and tears just came to my eyes. I couldn't control the tears. It just came. I just couldn't stop the tears. And being a man in this society, we taught not to cry, but especially being a West Indian man, I was definitely not to cry, with our culture, the music we listened to. But I couldn't stop the tears from coming. They just kept on coming. And as I cried, and I realized that I gave into the tears because I realized I couldn't stop them. So eventually I just gave into the tears, and I just said, okay, let them come. And I'm laying in there in darkness just crying. And then I realized that it wasn't for me. I realized I was crying for other people, the other people that may not have had the opportunity to cry. There's some of the people that was in a situation that they just didn't have, whether it's culture or whatever reason, maybe they didn't have an opportunity to cry. And at that moment, I felt like, at that point, the tears started to feel good. The more I cried, I started to feel less pressure. My shoulders started getting lighter. I didn't feel like I was sinking into the bed, into the darkness anymore. And so I started to feel better the more I cried. I felt like so much stress and so much pressure, all these years of holding it all in, it started to come out, it started to release. So now I started to cry deliberately. And I started to cry, and so in the darkness, I'm there and I'm crying. and and I'm feeling lighter, and I'm feeling like less pressure. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, I jumped out of bed and I stood there in the darkness, and I said to myself, "That's it, no more. It's done. No longer, I'm not going to be a victim. I'm not going to be a victim of government, my girlfriend. No more excuses. This is it. I'm going to take control of my life." And I wasn't going to allow, whether it was a car, whether it was a bank, a job, nothing. I was going to take control, and I'll take 100% responsibility. And at that time, I said, I'm going to write a book, because there's other people that's going through that I'm going through. And that's when I wrote my book. That's when I started writing that's from that point, that's where I wrote my book. My book is called Black, Broke, Busted, and Disgusted, and How I Developed a Mindset for Success. Because I just wrote it because that's what I was going through at the time. And from that, I decided at that point I started to, I dug really deep into personal development, and said, listen, I know there's people out there, I know there's better, because I've seen it. So I changed. I started to change. I started to research people who I wanted to be like, and I started following them. I started reading books. I started going to seminars. I started going to webinars. I started taking, getting coaching, and so that is what has led me to here today. I mean, I've been on a journey. Listen, we were all in journeys. Every one of us is on a journey. At that point in my life, I wasn't in control of my journey, and I decided to take control, and I'm directing where it is that I'm going to. So that is what has led me to that point. Is one of the things that I truly believe is we need one of two things in our lives. We either need a tragedy, or we need a goal that is so big that it gets us up in the morning. Most people don't have a goal that is so big. So most people, for them to change, it takes a tragedy. And that was the tragedy for me. My foreclosure, my divorce, my repossession, me not having a job, me not having nowhere to bring my son, and not being able to provide for my family. That was my tragedy. I didn't have a goal that was big. That was it for me. It took a tragedy. And so we all have different tragedies, but that was it for me. And that is what has led me to here talking to you today.
Cliff, what an amazing story, man. And, what motivates you? I mean, you were talking about goals. And I talk to people that have no goals. What type of goals should people be making? Should it be a business goal? Should it be making 100K? What type of goals do you advise people?
So here's what I realized. And on this journey that I'm on, this new journey that I'm on, it's not about what we become. And most people, they set their goals and they want to reach X amount of dollars or certain things, achieve certain things. And what I realize is about who you become in the process. And Jim Rohn says you listen to all of these and people, all these gurus that say the average person say, oh, you're just saying it because you have money. But really, it's not about that. It's really about who you become. So here's the thing. I moved about 6 months ago. I moved to where I'm at right now. And while I was in the process of moving, I found what do you call it? Some goals that I'd set for myself 5 years earlier, and I looked at those goals.
A journal.
No, a vision board. Yeah, sorry, a vision board. Yeah, I'd written a vision board, but I packed it up, and it was in boxes, and I was going through looking at things I was going to throw away, and I saw these goals, this vision board. I'm like, should I throw it away? I says no. So I looked at these goals that I had 5 years earlier, and even though I had not accomplished most of them, I looked at those goals and I said, wow. Did I set these goals? They seem so insignificant now. Looking 5 years ago, because I would never set those goals. Even though I didn't achieve them, those are not the goals that I wanted to achieve anymore. But the point is, 5 years earlier, those goals were pushing me. You know what I'm saying? So those goals pushed me to where I am to 5 years later. Even though when I look back on the goals that I didn't achieve, and I look back on the goals that I did achieve, I'm like, wow, I achieved goals that I never would have imagined in a million years. So for example, one of the goals that I've achieved in that time, I have written, co-produced, starred, and directed my own web series. I have written a full-length feature film and co-starred in it, you know what I'm saying? So I can actually call myself a filmmaker, director, writer, producer. 5 years earlier when I'd written those goals, that was not even on my radar, because I didn't even believe that would be possible for me. So when it comes to goals, you have to set your goals, things that'll stretch you. Les Brown says that it's not that most people don't hit their goals, it's that they set their goals so low that they hit them all the time. You know what I'm saying? So you have to set your goals high, and that's what it is. So even if it's a financial goal, If it's something you can do, then you're not stretching yourself. If you say, I'm gonna want to make $50,000 and it's something that you know you can do, then you're not really stretching yourself. You gotta stretch yourself to, okay, then I want to make $150,000. You know what I'm saying? Or 200,000, something that's gonna make you do things that you've never done before. Because a lot of people live a cliched lifestyle, but if you really take it into consideration, they work. Listen, if you want to achieve something you've never done before, you gotta do things, you gotta do things that you've never done before. It's a cliche, but if you follow it, it's true,
Now, can anyone start their own thing? Does it take a personality type? Does it take talent? What have you discovered about that?
What it takes is, I've told you that I've been in a lot of things in my life. One of the things that I've also done is that I used to manage artists, rappers, singers, producers, and so forth. And I've been around some talented individuals. Some of them I still keep in contact with. Like on my web series, I reached out to one of my producers that I used to take to the studios back in the days, and he's the one that actually did the soundtrack for my web series. So this guy's talented. Just talented, crazy talented. However, a lot of people, because they were so talented, they felt that people should just come knock on their door and give them opportunity, because people around them were just telling them how good they were and how talented they were. And I remember one particular group, I'm not going to say the name, but there's one particular group out of Miami that they didn't have nowhere near the talent that the rest of these guys did. But what happened is that because they didn't have the talent, they worked hard. Because they knew that they didn't have the talent, but they worked harder than everybody else. And a few years later, when all the guys that had the talent, when people weren't coming in and giving them contracts and big contracts and, saying, hey, listen, you got so talent, you should do this. When that wasn't happening for them, they gave up because they felt that they had a sense of entitlement, and it never came. These guys that weren't so talented didn't have the sense of entitlement, so they worked hard. And they happen to have been the only one that got a record deal, and they took it national, and they actually, in a sense, they're the only one that made it. So it's not talent, it's not dedication. Calvin Coolidge says, listen, if you look around you, there's plenty of educated derelicts. So there's plenty of people with education that talent alone won't do it, education alone won't do it. So
that's a good point.
It's not about talent. It's about perseverance. What the person that becomes successful, the person that don't give up. You're gonna gain the talent along the way. You're gonna gain the education, because that's part of not giving up. You're gonna learn. You're gonna get skilled in whatever area you become in and become knowledgeable. So the talent and the education come along. But what I find is successful is the people that don't give up. It's like if you don't give up, it's like the law of gravity. What goes up must come down. If you don't give up, listen, there's nowhere right. It's law. You will be successful.
What's that slogan that you have on your website? It was from employed to 1090.
Well, I have a couple. It's from 9 to 5 to entrepreneur, and the other one is from W2 to 1099. So I have a lot of those domains, from employee to employer, from something. So yeah, what I have on my website is now from W2 to 1099. Taking you from W2 to 1099.
And something, like, it's a very, very common sense slogan, but it motivates me. When I saw that for the first time, I was like, wow, obviously I'm a business owner already, but if someone was employed and saw that, why not start a business when you see that quote? So, my question is, what motivates you to do this?
Back to that night when I told you, when I got up, and I said no more, that's what motivates me. Yeah. Because I know there's so many people out there that are in the same position that I was in, and my goal is to make an impact and to affect and change people's lives all across the world, whether it's true. And that's why I do all the things that I do. That's why I write. I love writing. Writing is my thing. Mm-hmm. And that's why I write books. That's why I write movies. That's why I write my blog. And, that's why I write scripts, because all of them is I want to affect and change people's lives. I want them to realize, listen, like Les Brown says, really, you do have greatness in you. And all of us have that. And, you don't want to take it to the grave. And most people take their talent and potential to the grave. Why not live life? Just leave it all here. Leave it all here. Like back to what Jim Rohn says, listen, none of us are going to get out of this life alive. We're all going to die. So where like all the great ideas are at? Graveyard. In the graveyard.
They were never executed.
In the cemetery.
What does it take for someone getting motivated?
It's a tragedy For the most part,
Yeah.
most people don't start living their life until they have a tragedy and something happens that they get to the point where, like, you know what, I got to, listen, no more. Okay. One of the things I talk about in my book is that you hear most people say it, and once again, it's a cliche. You know, most people say, people change because they're sick and tired of being sick and tired. I disagree with that. People don't change because they're sick and tired of being sick and tired. And my own life is an example of that. And when I talk to people and people disagree with me, I go through their life. I say, okay, let me ask you a question. You know, what is it that you're going through? How long have you been going through it? You know, you was going through this 5 years. And what happens is that we simply get to accept a new level of being sick and tired. You know, so whether you're in a relationship and it's a bad relationship, or whether you're being abused, whatever it is, or it's a job, you know, there was 5 years ago when you said, listen, I'm sick and tired of this. And, you know, a year later, you know, something else happened, and now you get sick and tired. You know, so so all you do is get used to a new level of being sick and tired of being sick and tired. So sick and tired is not a catalyst for change. What's a catalyst for change is when you get to the point where you're disgusted. Disgust is what makes people change, because you get to the point where you say, you know what, no more. When you, just like I woke up in the middle of the night, you know, and I said no more, that's it. I wasn't sick and tired of being sick and tired, because at that point in my life, I thought about it, you know. I was sick and tired when I was 25. I was sick and tired when I was 30. You know, why didn't I change? Because I just got used to a different new level of being sick and tired, you know. So it got to the point where I was disgusted. And that's what creates change. When somebody says, listen, I'm disgusted, I'm done, no more, I'm not taking it anymore, this is it. So that's what creates change in my book, is being disgusted.
When I first met you, I listened to one of your favorite motivational speaker, Les Brown, his name is.
Yeah.
What a wonderful story that he had. That like he grew up in Liberty City, and they called him retarded, not incapable.
Yes, yeah.
And now he's speaking to Fortune 500 companies.
Right. Making $40,000 an hour.
Exactly. I think anyone can do it.
Yeah.
That's it. I mean, I always look back to Helen Keller. She invented stuff just to read for blind people. If she can do it, if Les Miles, of anyone like Steve Jobs that never finished college, you can do it too. What does it take?
And that's the message that Les Brown talks about. You know, one of the things he says is possible. You know, but if you go back to, if you talk about Les Brown and he talks about possible, and he grew up in Miami, you know,
in the rough area, Liberty City,
abandoned house in Liberty City.
No father,
no father, never knew his father. You know, with adopted with his twin brother, and you know, held back in school, whatever, all those things. However, if you talk about, and when you listen, Les Brown is a master storyteller, and when you listen to his story, right, one of the things I say to people is this: think about this. Where Les Brown grew up in a rough neighborhood in Liberty City, do you think that he had the worst story? Do you think Les Brown knew people that had a worse story than he did? Yeah, he was abandoned, you know, but I guarantee you there's people that he knew that didn't have a mother. He had a mother. He had a roof over his head. I guarantee you that he knew people. So what I'm saying to you is, it's not just about your story. You know what I'm saying? Because everybody's got a story. You know, it's the difference between Les Brown and all those people. Because I work for Les Brown, you know, even now at his institute, and I talk to people every day, and I hear stories, and they're like, "Oh man, if you think Les Brown's story is bad, let me tell you about mine." You know, and I'm like, "No,
it's okay, man. Let's
you know what I'm saying? Yeah." So everybody want to get into this pity party and tell you how bad their story is, but and Les Brown's story wasn't the worst in Liberty City, I'm sure, but whatever.
Yeah.
He decided to do something about it, and he took action. You know what I'm saying? And so, you know, those people that keeping his story inside of him, that's what happened. He decided it was going to make a difference in the share his story. So that's the difference. He doesn't have the worst story.
Oprah also has a good story, too.
Exactly, you know?
I mean, interesting story.
I mean, yeah, I mean, how she turned it around, you know?
Exactly.
There's so many women that's in that situation that won't talk about it. But, you know, that's what makes us different. We have a voice. And I believe if you have a voice, you know, when I speak, when I go back, you know, I go back to that night a lot, because I got to a point where I felt I wasn't just crying for me. I felt I was crying for all those people that couldn't speak for themselves, didn't have a voice, and I wanted to be the voice. That's what we are. That's what Les Brown is. He's a voice for the voiceless. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so that's what we are. That's what we. There's a lot of people when I talk, when I speak. You know, sometimes when I speak on stage and people I come off stage and people are like, "Wow, Cliff, I can't believe you said that. I can't believe you talked about that." But you know why? They're afraid of talking about that. But me, that's why I'm the one on stage, because I'm gonna shed myself. You know, so I'm talking for those people who don't, whatever, have the courage, whatever, but not talking for themselves.
When you go on stage, you go off script, or you stick with a script or something?
I'm not a scripted person, and maybe that's to my detriment because one of the things that they say about speaker is the speaker never change your speech. What they do is they simply change your audience. So you make your speech to fit your audience. And I listen to a lot of speakers, in motivational department, arena, and a lot of them to me just sound so canned. You hear them once and and it's like, yeah, I can do your speech for you, But that's the thing. That's However, so even though I will have my signature speech, I don't go by a script, So no, I don't. I use bullet points. I know what I'm going to talk about. Of course, you speak in front of certain people. There's certain things you want to talk about, but there's ways you got to weave your story in because I'm a storyteller. I write movies. I write books. You know what I'm saying? I'm a storyteller.
You're telling me right now. You're storytelling right now.
I'm a storyteller.
And it's funny. Like when I learned from public speaking 101 in college. You have to have bullet points, but sometimes you need to have some wiggle room to adjust to the audience.
Yeah.
Just like comedy. It might be a tough crowd. Your jokes are not working at the beginning. You gotta adjust it to the crowd.
Exactly. Some people don't know how. That's what I'm trying to say. Some people don't know how to adjust because sometimes somebody might do something that throw you off, and if you're that scripted, you're lost. You're like, oh, what do I do now? You know what I'm saying? Oh, I wasn't expecting that question. I wasn't expecting you to do that. What do I do now? You can't get lost. You have to, be able to roll the punches, and that, so you have to be loose. You know what I'm saying? And that's what it is. And I know speakers like that. That if you say something and interrupt them, they're completely lost. No, stop. No talking. No questions. I gotta go through my thing because it's script.
Speaking about speakers, who's one of your favorite speaker that really motivates you till today?
Man, I have so many, but I gotta go with. My favorite. I'm just gonna give it an all-time favorite is Jim Rohn.
Really?
Jim Rohn. Man, because like he says, local farm boy from Idaho that made it big. When it was 25, he was broke. By the time it was 31, he was rich. He was a millionaire. By the time it was 33, he was broke again. And basically, he talks about the basic principles of what it becomes. Listen, I mean, his principles. I don't need a dictionary to understand what he's saying. And that's how I write. I write that I want to talk and speak so a 5-year-old can understand what I'm saying. I'm not complicated, and so that's why I relate to Jim Rohn because it feels like the guy next door. It feels like somebody you can sit on, like they say in when they're running for politics or president or somebody you can sit down and have a beer with. That's who Jim Rohn is to me.
Relating to the audience.
Yes, exactly. I relate to Jim Rohn. I mean, there's lots of people. I mean, obviously Les Brown's story. Tony Robbins, Brendan Burchard. I mean, you name the list goes on and on. Zig Ziglar. The list goes on. But Jim Rohn.
You were telling me that you listen to Les Brown every morning, like before you go.
So here's what I do. I listen to Les Brown in the mornings too because Les Brown is like pump you up, like listen, it's possible. I grew up in Liberty City, you know what I'm saying? If I can do it, you can do it, it's possible. So I listen to him for that. But however, then you need to go and get, okay, so now it's possible. What do I need to do?
What's practical?
Yeah, what are the practical things?
Who's the practical speaker?
Tony Robbins.
Tony Robbins.
Yes, Tony Robbins and Brendan Burchard, those kind of people, because what they do is they give you practical things for you to do. Here's build an online business. You do this. Here's steps that you need to do. So, I mean, that's how Brendan Burchard made his money. That's how I started listening to Brendan Burchard from day one, and that's what they used to do videos, 15, 20-minute videos, telling you how, and they gave you this stuff for free. But he gave you practical stuff that you can take and use, and that's what I believe. I believe in. There's a lot of speakers out here talking fluff. They tell you, hey, you can do this and you can do that. But they don't tell you, okay, so once you leave, okay, now what? You know what I mean?
I know exactly about those speakers. Like, you read their script, it's almost the same thing.
Yeah. And, but after they give you the information that you can do this and you can do that, how do you do it? So that's why I go to those places.
Yeah, I mean, there's two different types of speakers. There's motivational and the ones that are practical.
Yes.
Those are two big. And it's funny because when I listened to Les Brown, I was crying. I was so motivated. I wanted to just go and take over the world.
Take over the world. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But how do you take over the world?
That is the $1 million question, isn't it? What's your favorite business book?
Think and Grow Rich. I'm reading it right now. I mean, I've read it, but I'm reading it again. So I'm reading lots of books right now. I mean, I'm reading Richest Man in Babylon. Oh, no, actually, you know what? I'll take that back. It's not Think and Grow Rich. It's tied with Think and Grow Rich. The Science of Getting Rich. Wallace D. Wattles, that is my favorite. Wallace D. Wattles, Science of Getting Rich, 1902, I think, yeah.
1902?
Written in 1902.
It still works today.
Oh, man. Yes. The Science of... You know what? I think that is the secret that most people won't tell you about. That book right there. they'll all tell you about the science. I mean, Think and Grow Rich. Everybody tell you about Think and Grow Rich, written in 1936. You know, they'll all tell you about that, but most people won't tell you about the science of getting rich.
I've never heard that book.
The science of getting rich, I believe, is a secret behind the secret. You know, I mean, listen, when they don't mention it much, Jim Rohn, you know, they'll talk about it. Zig Ziglar, you know, Tony Robbins, Brendan Burchard, Les Brown, they've all read The Science of Getting Rich. But you don't hear them talking about it much. They'll tell you about science, the Think and Grow Rich. You know, but The Science of Getting Rich, Wallace D. Wattles, that's it.
Everyone says Rich Dad Poor Dad. I'm not sure if you heard that book.
Yeah, I've read that too. Yeah. But you know, the thing about The Science of, the Think and Grow Rich is supposed to, that book is supposed to have created more millionaires than any other book, you know, so as far as people have read it. So, you know.
We'll have that link on the comments.
Yeah, I mean, that's what they say. They say that book has created more millionaires than any other, you know what I'm saying? So more than Rich Dad Poor Dad. So yeah, so Think and Grow Rich. But for me, my favorite book is The Science of Getting Rich. In fact, I used to go to sleep just listen to the audio book, The Science of Getting Rich.
Random question. Would you rather give up on sports or listen to music?
Would I rather give up on sports?
I mean, sports meaning like to watch sports.
Or to listen to music?
Music, yeah.
Oh, no, I'll stop listening to music.
Okay.
Yeah. No, I gotta, you know, listen. No, I gotta watch my soccer. I was gonna say football, but I gotta watch my soccer and my English Premier League, and I gotta watch NBA. No, I'm not giving that up.
What would you say to a person out there that wants to start his business? He's probably in between jobs, or maybe he's doing an Uber, but he wants to, you know, start his own thing. What would you tell him?
What I'll tell him is that start right where you are, where you're at. Don't quit your job. You know, I speak from these experiences. Don't quit your job. You know, allow your job. See, a lot of people, they want to start a business and they have ideas and they get going to job. They're tired of their job and like they just get up on there and like, you know, I'm done. I'm quitting. And even though that's the point of disgust where I talk about, but you don't want to do that when it comes to starting your business. What you want to do is there's ways for you to realize that your job will help you. What you want to do is use your job to finance your business. So you want to start there. Don't quit your job, but build something. So like Jim Rohn says, I quote Jim Rohn a lot. He says that, you know, you work from 9 to 5, you know, but when you come home from 5 to 9 is when your work starts. That's when the real work starts. Jim Rohn says that, you know, you can, if you work, what does it say? If you work for, you know, if you work for a living, if you work, you make a good living. If you work for yourself, you'll make a fortune. Something, I don't remember the quote right now, but basically that's it. But yeah, so what I would tell them, don't quit your job. Start working on that. One of the things that you want to do is you want to start working part-time, because one of the things is you quit your job, right, and you go do something and you might realize, oh, I don't even like this. This is not what I wanted to do. It's not what you thought. So start doing it part-time. And even if it's something that you know that you like, start doing it part-time, because allow your job to finance it. And once you start making enough income on the part from you, when you part-time start making enough income to equivalent of your full-time or even close to it, or where you can survive on that part-time income, now you can quit your job and put more effort into it and turn it into full-time. But I would say don't quit your job. Start there where you are and start building your business. You know, most people when they get home from work, the first thing they do is they look for a remote and they look for a beer. You know, instead of doing that, create something. And most people hate their jobs and hate their lives because you have nothing to look forward to. So I'd say find something to look forward to. You know,
you're very right. I see people quit their job like cold, and they got no other income coming in. They got 2 weeks of severance, but that's gonna really go by really quick.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I've done it, so you know what I'm saying. I speak from experience, and those are the kind of things that I teach people in my course. You know what I'm saying? Become your own boss, and you know the steps. And I have 10 things to do before you quit your job. You know, so there's certain things you want to do. You want to build relationships. You want to, you know, there's certain relationships you want to build. There's certain things you want to do before you quit your job, before you become want to go out there and become your own boss. First of all, you want to find out not everybody's made to be a boss. Not everybody's made to be a business owner. Not everybody's made to be an entrepreneur. It's not easy. It's not all glamour, you know, and it's, you know, everything is not shine. Everything that shines is not gold. It's not all that. So sometimes you want to see, is this really for me? You know, maybe I'm better off just taking a paycheck and, you know, coming into work and doing this. Listen, my ex-wife, listen, you know, she's my ex-wife now, but, you know, one of the things we talk about and we joke about now is that it's, you know, me and her getting a divorce is one of the best things that ever happened to the both of us. And we're best friends now. She's my best friend. But, however, she would have held me back. Because what happens, I don't believe there's no 50-50 in a relationship. In certain areas, in different areas, some people are stronger. One person might be stronger in the finances. One person might be stronger in this area, in that area. So we all have our personal strengths. But she is in 9 to 5. She doesn't see this thing. I remember one time she said to me, "Why would I want to start my own business? I got to pay. They charge so much for you. Got to pay taxes." You know what I'm saying? So that kind of mindset would have held me back, because I believe she's so stubborn in that area. I think I would have fell into that. So I'm glad that we're not together, because I'm glad I have no regrets.
So can you tell us a little bit about your new website, your services, and what you can provide?
Yeah, the website is clifftownsend.com. My name, or of course you can go find it from 9 to 5 to entrepreneur.com, or from W2 to 1099. It all leads to the same place. What it is that I'm working on courses right now. And building an online institute is what I'm actually building, where I can teach people how to become their own boss, the steps. Now, one of the things that I've done in the past is, and from the mistakes, where we are today is an online world. I don't care if you have a business offline, a brick and mortar business, or you need to be online, and you need to build your brand. One of the mistakes I've made in the past in all these business I've done is that I've just got up, started a business, and put up a website, get a business card, and here's what I do. But that's not really a business. You know what I'm saying? That's failure. So what I focus on right now is building your brand, because if you look at these businesses that are successful, they've built a brand. People don't buy products. They buy a brand. They buy from a brand. And that's what you got to do. If you want to have a business that's sustainable and successful, you create a brand where people can, like you said earlier, people like you and trust you, and they're buying from you. So I don't care if you're selling cups. They're coming to you to buy a cup from you, from your brand. They can go somewhere else and buy another cup, but they're buying a cup from you because they're buying your brand of cup. So they're buying from you. So even if you're an individual business, that's one thing you have to do, is create your own brand. And you have to, of course, get online and do digital marketing. So I'm teaching people about becoming their own boss and being an entrepreneur and solopreneurs. However, I'm doing it now from a focus of building your brand and creating a strong online presence.
And you're right. Like half my business is trust. A lot of people use me because of trust. It's the weirdest thing. Like they can use other people that are a little bit cheaper than me, but no, it's like, Santiago, I'll pay you more because I trust you. You do a good job. You're reliable. You're not gonna cheat on me or anything. Trust is like a human.
It means so much.
It does. It's that personal touch.
When I remember when I used to sell cars, I used to sell Mercedes, and in Pembroke Pines, and people used to come to me, and they used to not buy. They used to go somewhere else. Cliff, I'm gonna go, to another dealership and check around. And they would go somewhere, and then they'd call me back and say, Cliff, I'm at this dealership down here. I'm at ABC dealership. They have the exact same car, same color, same everything that you just saw them. And if you match your price, I'll come buy from you. And I'm like, so that says so much, because they can buy it right there. Why are you calling me? You have a salesperson right there. They're giving you a better price. Why are you not buying it from them? So people are not buying price. People are not buying product, and then they're not buying a price. I mean, of course, listen, because I've never talked to anybody into buying a car. I never talked to anybody into buying a $100,000 car. You know what I'm saying? Somebody wanted to do it. You know what I'm saying? So
it's just organic.
Yeah, exactly.
It's organic. It's beautiful.
So they're like me. So they wanted to buy the car from me. It was about me. You know what I'm saying? So, and yeah, I used to feel bad about it. I'm like, the other salesperson must be terrible, because you know what I'm saying, they're right there. They could buy the car right there, but they're gonna drive all the way back to come to me to buy the exact same car. And it's why? Because they got me. You know what I mean? So they trusted me, they liked me.
Like a lot of people say that, first thing in business is know how to sell. But I think you have to sell trust.
Yeah.
It's part of it.
When I first got into sales, I used to hate sales, and the cars was my first sales. But I used to have the same perception that, oh man, it's you're lying, but I was never that. And I realized that when I got into sales and I was good at selling cars, I realized that I was just being me, and I was just being honest, and that's what made me good. People liked me because I was honest. And it wasn't about lying to people, and it wasn't about all of those things. So that's what it is. That's what sales is. I don't even consider my salesperson as a salesperson. I'm not selling anything. I mean, I have a real estate license. I've never sold a house. I've never convinced somebody to buy a house for $300,000. You know what I'm saying? They wanted that. I've never sold a house. I've never sold a $100,000 car. They wanted that. They bought.
You're a likable person, Cliff. When I first met you,
I'm a consultant and an advisor. You know what I'm saying?
When I first met you at Whole Foods, man, you're a likable person. So you're able to sell yourself.
Yeah, exactly, and that's what people do. They buy from people they like and trust.
How can people reach you, contact you?
Listen, it's Cliff Townsend 1 on Twitter, Cliff Townsend 1 on Instagram, and Cliff Townsend on Facebook. So it's pretty much Cliff Townsend. And my email is clifftownsend1@live.com, or you can, like I said, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. It's all Cliff Townsend 1.
Any closing words?
Listen, I'm gonna leave you with Les Brown. It's possible. It's possible. Whatever it is, I put something up this morning that whatever you desire in life is possible, but you just got to believe. You know, in business or anything else in life, what is it that kill most people is not what other people say outside. It's not what other. Yes, there's people outside that when you go for your things, they'll not believe you and they'll not support you. But it's not about them. It's about you. It's what belief do you have in yourself? If you don't have the belief in yourself, because if you have a strong enough belief in yourself, the outside chatter doesn't matter. You know what I'm saying? Because you'll block them out. In fact, you'll cut them off. You know, I've what's the words? Categorized the people in my life. Some people I don't talk to business about because I know I have one guy that, you know, if I talk about business, it's like, oh, that never work. I don't talk to him about business. I talk to him about one thing and one thing only, what he's interested in. When I see him, I talk to him about girls. Hey, man, what girl you talking to this week? You been on any dates? Because I don't talk to him about business because he's going to be like, no, that'll never work, Cliff. Oh, you're in. So we don't talk about that. So, you know, because I have a strong enough belief in what I'm doing that I don't need people around me telling me what I can and what I cannot do. In fact, the easiest way for me to stop talking to you is for you to tell me what I cannot do. You know? Start telling me what I cannot do, and I'm not having a conversation with you anymore. Our conversation is pretty much done when you start telling me what it is that I cannot do. Because what you're doing is you're passing your limiting beliefs on to me. What you're telling me is that you can't do it, so I don't believe you can do it. And that's what it is. So the last part, the parting words is you got to believe in yourself.
One question I have to sneak in. Who's your favorite sports star that motivated you?
Man, okay, am I gonna go to Pele? Am I gonna go to Vivian Anderson? He was a defender for Nottingham Forest in England, the soccer team, and the reason why him is because he was the first black player to have played for England. Vivian Anderson, but there's so many.
I know.
But I'll stick with that though.
You know, it's funny because some people really put like sports stars as a motivator, like Allen Iverson, so small, took on bigger guys, or like LeBron or even KD. I don't know. I'm just going for on the sports end because I'm a sports guy and a tech guy. But anyways, Cliff, thank you very much for being on the podcast, and like I was saying, you're very motivating. When I first met you, you definitely grew on me really, really quick. You know, and we spoke for like less than maybe like 10 minutes at most.
Yeah, right.
and then I got you on Instagram, and that's my one like my first question is ask someone what's their Instagram because I know they're on there and they're posting.
Yeah.
Anyways, Cliff, thank you very much for being on the podcast.
Thanks for having me, man. I appreciate it.
Appreciate it, man.